prepared a presentation about a very important person from El Salvador, Fernando Llort, and I have called my presentation Colors and Traces of Hope. The Tourist Ministry delivers awards to personalities who have contributed to increase tourism in El Salvador and offer positions in the national and international markers. This year, the award was given to the painter, sculptor, muralist, composer, and performer Fernando Llort for his contribution to the municipality of La Palma en Chalatenango, El Salvador. La Prensa Gráfica, a local newspaper, covered the event. I want to take Hispanic Mass as an opportunity to be the best ambassador of my culture, not only about the particular country I am from, but also of the rich and amazing Hispanic culture that all unite us all. You can see here many costumes from El Salvador: the dress, the food, the national bird, and the flower. Fernando Llort is one of the most influential Salvadorian artists. Through his art, he helped a local community in La Palma. He created a symbol of the Salvadorian culture, and he has influenced Salvadorian designers and illustrators. Fernando Llort was born on April 7, 1949 in San Salvador, El Salvador in Central America. Fernando Llort is the son of Baltasar Llort and Victoria Schusi. He is the middle child of 6 and displayed an artist's inclination of early age. He began his college study at the University of El Salvador and earned a bachelor's degree in architecture. His hunger for new experience led him to advance his studies in France in 1968. It was very important time for George's life. Being abroad gave him a strong sense of culture identity with El Salvador. After France, he studied theology in Belgium. Religious symbols are present through his art. You can almost see a church or the dove, the symbol of peace, and crosses in his work. Later on, he came to the United States, and he started going to the University of Louisiana in Baton Rouge, and he finished his studies in art. Upon returning to El Salvador, he discovered political and social instability. The climate was tense, like the awakening of the Civil War. The last 12 years. To get away from all these problems, he moved to the town of La Palma, close to the border of Honduras. And you know where is Honduras? It's also part of Central America, one of our many Hispanic countries that speak Spanish. The contact with the nature and with the people influenced his art in a tremendous way. And it was in this town that he started the workshop called El Árbol de Dios, that it means the Sea of God. He will teach to the locals how to paint with the symbols that represent El Salvador. Llort continued to develop his style of art, and eventually he will open a center for the arts, for the people who can come and learn about his style. The interesting part of this project is that in this workshop he will train the locals, people from La Palma, how to paint and create beautiful products, and then prepare them to be able to form their own workshops and give continuity to their work. His art style became so popular that is now considered one of the El Salvador symbols. The painting of Fernando Llort transmit peace, local customs like el torito pinto, el pusuco, that is the armadillo, el toro ghost, that is the national bird for El Salvador, and has many colorful flora and fauna, if you can tell in this dress. He represents the people from El Salvador, the houses, people working in harmony, and very colorful places. Today his work are demonstrated in more than 10 countries as a testimony to the work of his hands. The first exposition took place in 1968 in France. Since then, his work has been displayed in California, in Mexico, Japan, Ecuador, and of course El Salvador. Many of his pieces are part of private collections, to mention the Vatican in Rome, Don Juan Carlos, King of Spain, Ronald Reagan, is our former president, Margaret Thatcher, the Museum of the White House, and many more. The most representative art of Fernando Llort, it is the development of the facade of the Metropolitan Cathedral. Besides being his most important work, we find the art of Fernando Llort in different monuments on walls. In the metropolitan capital of El Salvador, we have a wall called El Árbol de Dios, and the whole La Palma Chalatenango, the whole town, is dressed with his paint. A good streetscape does not just provide a pleasant place for pedestrian walk. It also helps contribute to the community atmosphere. It is one thing to walk down to a nice street, and it's something else to walk to a street that shows the people who lives there. The small town of La Palma in El Salvador made famous when the artist Fernando Llort made his hub. Now there are dozens of factories in the village devoted to his style. For the legacy of our artists, we are committed to give value to the history of a nation. Fernando realized that teaching children creative thinking skills could give them much needed chance to succeed in the world. His work is part of the people of El Salvador. Fernando honors the culture of El Salvador with his art. You can be part of this tribute to the Hispanic culture.